You may have noticed very recently on Twitter, on Facebook and elsewhere, there has been quite a viral tweet going around. And this has been done by a person who is essentially logging the price increase of basic food. We're talking pasta and rice, which, by the way, are some of the staple ingredients that the poorest people in this country very often rely on to essentially get their food and get their nutrients. We've seen some of these prices, again, go up by 30 to even 40 pence. And that may sound like a very small number. But you've got to think, when people are on, the poor are on, low to minimum wage with these prices increases, this is going to hit them really, really hard. And I mean really hard. And I've been saying it since last year that 2022 is going to be a year where a lot of problems hit home simultaneously at once. Not only in April are we going to see the cost of energy increase that is going to hit us like an absolute tidal wave, we've also got this problem as well. We are pricing poor people out of the food market. That is not good. That is not good at all. And it's very, very worrying to see. Of course, we have a Conservative government, so of course that they're not interested. They're not interested until, of course, it becomes an issue, and then they will try and find out some, short-term solution. Or, you'll have Jacob Rees-Mogg's argument. Well, they can just turn to food banks, which is a wonderful outpouring of charity. No, people shouldn't have to rely on charity in order to survive. That is a failing of this country. And again, Conservatives will time and time love to tell us that we live in a very rich and wealthy country, but when it comes to actually spending that money, that there's absolutely no money can be spent whatsoever on the poorest people in our society to help them in their time of need. And that says everything you need to know about our current government and indeed the current state of our society as a whole. So let's go into this, because this is going to be a major problem, a very, very major problem. So this comes from The Guardian, but before we do get into that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel. So, as I said, this comes from The Guardian. So, we're pricing the poor out of food in the UK. That's why I'm launching my own price index. Our ruling class may have been brazenly wheeling suitcases of cheap plonk last week to avert the gaze of the Metropolitan Police officers during last year's lockdowns, but their voters are increasingly finding themselves destitute, hungry, demoralised, and priced out of the cheapest bags of apples at the supermarket. It was last reported last week that the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI, the measures for inflation, rose by 5.4% in December, the highest level for nearly 30 years. And the CPI and the Retail Price Index are interchangeably to the document the rising price levels of groceries and household goods across the UK. Yet they only tell a fragment of the story of inflation, and they grossly underestimate the true cost of living crisis. A collection of 700 pre-specified goods that included a leg of lamb, a bedroom furniture, a television, and champagne seems a bit of a blunt and dark comical tool for recording the impact of the inflated grocery prices in a country where 2.5 million citizens were forced by an array of desperate circumstances to use food banks in the last year. The Smart Price and Basic Value ranges offered a lowest cost alternatives and are stealthily now being extinguished from the shelves, leaving shoppers with no choice but to level up to the supermarket's own brand of goods, usually in smaller quantities at now larger prices. I've been monitoring for this for the last decade, through writing receipts on my own online blog and documenting the prices of increases in forensic detail. In 2012, 10 stock cubes from Sainsbury's basic range were just 10 pence. And in 2022, those same stock cubes are now 39 pence, but are only available in chicken or beef. The cheapest vegetable stock cubes are inexplicably £1 for 10. Last year, the smart price pasta at my local Asda was 29 pence for a 500-gram bag. Today, it is unavailable, so the cheapest bag is now 70 pence at a 141% price rise for the same product in a more colourful packaging. And a few years ago, there were more than 400 products in the smart price range. Today, there are just 87 and counting down. The managing director of Iceland, Richard Walker, stated on ITV on Friday that his stores were losing customers to food banks and to hunger. Not to other competitors, not to better offers, but to starvation and charity. Iceland has pledged to keep its £1 lines at a flat rate of £1 until the end of the year, a commitment to customers at a sharp end that is very rare in the cutthroat world of supermarket retail. And of course, last Thursday, I was contacted on Twitter by an elderly gentleman who confessed that he had eaten a teaspoon of toothpaste for his dinner in order to fool himself into thinking that he had chewed, swallowed, and tasted and digested something. I relayed this on Good Morning Britain to the business secretary, Kirsty Katang, who said he was appalled that such things had happened in Britain today. And appalled is but unsurprising, perhaps considering the eradication of the Socialist Report that has been the Conservative policy for 12 long years. People with very little are often the sharpest of the economists and mathematicians, holding dozens of prices in our heads so we can remove the objects from the shopping basket at the checkout when the total comes to more than the pittance of our bank account. Juggling the late and delayed benefit payments, knocking a bit off each bill to keep the wolves from the door, shopping around for the cheapest school uniform so that we won't fall apart in the washing machine, and scrutinizing the shelf labels for the price per 100 gram of each product, ignoring the brightly colored offers. But I have been writing about these things for over 10 years now, and I have given evidence to multiple parliamentary inquiries and led numerous petitions, being consulted on the school food plan and the nutrition food strategy, spoken twice at the Conservative Party conference, and still the realities of the worst of our collective expectations are dismissed by the haughty moneymen as not matching their theoretical lamb and champagne metrics. So, along with a team of economists, charitable partners, and retail price analysts, people working to try and combat UK poverty in the UK, and ex-staff from the Office of National Statistics and others who have volunteered their time and expertise, I am compelling a new price index, one that will document the disappearance of the budget lines and insidiously the creeping prices of the most basic versions of the essential items at the supermarket. And at the very least, it will serve as the irrefutable snapshot of the reality experienced by millions of people. At its best, it may be a warning shot to the retailers who keep their £7.50 ready meals and £6 bottles of wine at £7.50 and £6 for a decade, while quadrupling the price of the basic stock cubes and broken irregular grains of white rice. This issue isn't going anywhere, and neither am I. And this, to be honest, is really worrying. It really is. The fact that we have such incredible price rises on the basic necessities that probably the most poorest people of this country have to rely on. And as a result, people having to turn to charity. Well, don't get me wrong, I am glad that these food banks are there to help them in their time of need. But as I've said many, many times, food banks should not exist in what the Conservatives proudly cry as one of the richest countries in the world, and yet they do nothing about it. For the past decade, they have stripped any help to give to these people from austerity. And now those chickens are finally coming home to roost in the worst ways imaginable. And I do worry that this is a crisis that is going to get a whole lot worse before it even starts to get anywhere near better. I really do worry that way. But of course, again, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And as always, there is the support links down below of Buy Me Coffee on my Patreon page. And as always, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all next time.